Hi everybody, it's Nick Marzinski at trappinglight.com. And after I recorded the last video tutorial about retouching, I thought about one of the things that I had done and I realized that there was a better way to do it. So I'm just going to very briefly go over how I can have done something better in the last tutorial and show you how that works. And what it amounts to is this very last fix that I made here where I brightened up the left side of my face, and I'm just going to toggle that layer on and off so you can see what the change was. What I did originally is that I made another copy of the image. So I used the what's called the claw command, or Control Shift Alt and E, to take all of the changes that I've made and paste those up to a new layer. And the problem with doing it that way is that when I do that, I'm adding another copy of my image to the file, and that's a lot of hard drive space that it's taking up. That's a lot of memory that it's taking up when it does that. Okay, in this case, if you look at the bottom here, you can see that it's 26 megabytes. That's really not too big, and keep in mind that what I'm working on here is an 8-bit image, and it's web sized, and so it's only 72 pixels per inch. If I'm using a raw file and I'm editing in 16-bit space, each copy of my image for a 15 megapixel image is about 40 megabytes, and so the file size can get really big very quickly. So to the extent that we're not making additional copies of our image, we can save tremendous amounts of file space. So I'm going to go over exactly how to do that to get this exact same change that I get here with this layer without having to copy the image data. So in order to do that, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to disable this layer. So we're going to be back to where we were before. Again, this side of my face right here is a little bit dark and I want to brighten that up. So here's what I'm going to do. Rather than having this copy of my of the image here, I'm going to go over at the bottom here and I'm going to select a levels adjustment layer. Okay? And I'm not going to make any changes to it. So you can see, without making any changes, I can toggle this layer on and off and nothing changes in the image. Okay, I haven't made any changes to the levels here. I haven't dragged any of the arrows back and forth, which would brighten or darken the image. So I'm not making any changes on this adjustment layer. Here's what I'm going to do though. I'm going to take the layer blend mode, and like I did before, I'm going to change it to screen. And what you can see is that even though there's no image data on this adjustment layer, it brightens my image the exact same way it would have if I had actually taken a copy. From there on out, it's basically the same sort of thing that I did before. I can mask it, and in this case what I'm going to do, since I've already have the mask down here, I'm just going to simply copy it up. So I'm going to hold down the Control key and the Alt key and then grab it and drag it right up. And what you can see here is that it cuts down on the shadows. Again, everything is very bright, but we'll just reduce the opacity to get it to a level that I'm happy with. Okay? So in the beginning, when I started with this image, it had a size of about 26 megabytes. Now that I don't need this layer anymore, I can delete it, drag it over down to the trash bin right here and get rid of it. And you can see that my size now has dropped from 26 megabytes to 21 megabytes. Again, in this example, I'm working with a web-ready image, so this is a very small image. But if you're working with a much larger image, one that's full size, that you're taking a raw file and you're dumping it into Photoshop and working in 16-bit space, that amount of space is not insignificant. It can slow down how fast Photoshop is and how responsive it is because it's such a large file. So by using an adjustment layer to make your change, as opposed to actually copying that data up and making the change that way, you get the exact same effect that you want, but without dramatically increasing your file size. So that's it for now. This is just a quick tip. Again, on Monday we'll be talking about how to grunge up the image using plugins. But I figured that just for right now, I would throw this out there just to make you aware that there is this other technique that you can use to brighten images without having to add all sorts of image data. So hope you have a nice weekend. Hope to see you on Monday. Again, my name is Nick Marzinski with trappinglight.com. Thanks.